back to another episode of Teacher Nerds Podcast. I'm Ron Nober.
I'm Joe DiPaolo.
I'm a technology teacher, 3rd grade to 8th grade.
And I teach 3rd grade.
All right, and we have a special guest today, Evin Schwartz from Belouga, a new platform to Joe and I. And Evin, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Evin, do you just want to introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'll give you kind of the quick spiel in a nutshell, if you will. So I'm the CEO and founder over here at Belouga. Started Belouga about 3 years ago, and my background's actually not from the education sector. I previously have spent my time in the social impact sector. So really understanding how are we getting people passionate about specific causes, movements, organizations, primarily Gen Y and Gen Z, and have done so really through storytelling and content more than anything else. So really popped open Belouga about 3 years ago with the big picture mentality of just how are we setting up the next generation for success, right? And in doing so, what does that look like globally? And after having some conversations with friends around the world, them reflecting on what's up with the US, we see all this crazy stuff in the media, what's up with gun violence, politics, start to really think about that, right? And how is that message being pushed down to kids, right? And especially kids that have not had connections or travel or those opportunities yet, which primarily are most kids, right? So how do we create almost this environment for them to be able to connect and learn about the world with the world? And really our complete DNA at Belouga really focuses on making education accessible, impactful, and equitable for every single learner worldwide.
Oh, cool.
So Belouga's big picture mission, is definitely fueled by content. I'll tell you guys right out the gate, and if you look at anything that we've done, Netflix style is all over it, right?
Yeah.
Like I have major Netflix envy. I will say this publicly to anyone. And really, I mean, it's not just from their content. I love their content. Don't get me wrong, like everyone else. Just finished Ozark season 3. It was amazing.
Oh.
But looking at
is that the cowboy show? Is that the cowboy show?
It's not the cowboy show. It's almost. I'm going to say this in like a PG version.
Yeah.
Like lake community in rural Missouri.
Okay.
That then gets looped in with the drug cartel in Mexico.
Oh, it's the family. That's yes. Okay.
Jason Bateman, right?
Yeah, Bateman stars in it. He produced it. He wrote it. That guy's super talented.
Cool.
Yeah, we're getting ready to start that this week.
You guys are gonna love it. Trust me.
Cool.
Especially during quarantine, this is a must-watch. But I'll tell you guys, just looking at that Netflix model, right? In 1997, these guys launched. They changed how we consume information. Like I still remember the DVDs.
Right.
Oh yeah. Getting the queue, setting the queue.
That's exactly it, right? Like most people these days, what are DVDs? A previous lifetime, basically. But they've done an amazing thing with making content accessible at any time to any person. So we really looked at it from a perspective and said, how do we do this in education, right? There's so much great content out there. How do we personalize this experience? Not only for traditional standards as the entry point, but how do we look at it from a real world learning perspective and get people really excited about learning, spark that curiosity and creativity? And we know, and you guys know this too as educators, right, better than us, is once you get that excitement, you could teach kids anything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? It does not matter at all. I mean, you guys spotted immediately a big Yankee fan on my side, but I'm not a great math student. When I was in school, you start talking about the World Series Yankees, and I'll rattle those stats off immediately. Right? But if you think about it, how does that factor into percentages and fractions and decimals and all this great stuff that people are trying to teach? How do we focus on real world learning first, then link over to core subject area and curriculum? And then finally, and this is really the magic behind Belouga, is how do we bring it to life through community, where teachers and students are not only able to consume it individually, but work collaboratively. And that could be with their own classmates, that could be with their community, that could be with their district, or someone completely on the other side of the world. And really have been able to kind of create this virtual learning environment. We're active in about 100 countries worldwide in the last 3 years. So things have moved quickly for us. I'll tell you guys, our community is absolutely amazing. Like I cannot say enough good things. And just kind of coming in, honestly, as an outsider in education into this world, this is one of the most tight-knit verticals I've ever seen in my life, right? And I think it's a great thing. But I will play devil's advocate there. I think it's very intimidating for teachers that might not have had that network, the PLN, the experience previously. And really what we're trying to do is just kind of level the playing field, not only for teachers, but for students as well. Give them the content that they need, give them the community that they need, and bring it together under one umbrella.
That is awesome.
Sounds
awesome
like
mission. Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Ron, what do we talk about? Preparing the students for the 21st century, right?
Yeah.
And Evan, this is the first time all three of us got together.
Sure.
But you would have thought, like, after everything you just said, like, you've been talking with us the whole time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been saying, like right now, if your lessons, your assignments aren't relevant to the student, they don't see how they fit in, dude, you're competing with Hulu, Netflix, YouTube, PlayStation, Xbox. Good luck.
Can I tell you something on that? That line, and I love it, and Joe, you just nailed it. Like, you would think us three have chatted for so long before this. This is honestly the first time. But looking at it, we keep saying that to people, is like, your PD lesson is now competing with Ozarks on Netflix. Right. And like, to wrap your mind around that is so deep, and understand like, what does that really mean? Right. But the biggest factor that all of us are looking at is time.
Yeah.
And understanding where are we devoting our time, to our family, to our friends, to our craft, or to our hobbies. And most of us, unfortunately, are quarantined up and looking at consuming content as the answer. Right. And I think the biggest thing that we're seeing, especially now, is one, everyone has turned into an educator because they don't have a choice, right? So it's mom, dad, grandma, the dog even is teaching tricks, right? So it doesn't matter. And then everyone has turned into a content creator. Yeah. And it's extended past YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, obviously, Instagram, Snapchat, but it's now, how do we learn from people and learn its real world perspective? But to your guys' point, like, it has to capture their attention.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So we're going to get more into it, but we always start with 2 yes more, 1 no way. And this is one just came off the top of my head the other day, was superpowers. Yeah. 2 superpowers you'd like to have, and 1 you don't want to deal with at all. Anybody want to volunteer to go first?
I will totally go first.
All right, Joe, go for it.
I'm excited about this. And my first one was extremely easy. My 1 yes would be flying. If I get a superpower, I'm flying. And I'm scared of heights. I'm not into flying on planes. But if it's a superpower, I'm a super guy. So flying all the way. My second one was the struggle, because I thought super strength or super brain power. And I started thinking, you know what, if I have superpowers, I want to be a good guy, not a bad guy. And the bad guys are always really smart. The good guys are always really strong. So I'm going with super strength to accompany my ability to fly. Nice. And then my 1 no way is going to be like X-ray vision. If I'm strong and I can fly, who needs X-ray vision?
That's amazing.
So, Ron, I love this topic because all day I'm brushing my teeth thinking about it and like contemplating what's going to be. Am I going to do brain? And then I started thinking of that show Pinky and the Brain from Warner Brothers, like all those years ago. And it was like, man, that's a good topic. So, Ron, kudos to you, man. Evan, what do you got?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I was doing the same thing, brushing my teeth this morning, thinking, what would my superhero be? Or what would my superpower be? So I'll tell you, I had to just stick with one's very telling, and I think 1 is just out there. So the first one would be power to heal. And, obviously these days it would be very nice, but just in general, right? How do we do it? And that's the compassionate side of me. I'll tell you the weird one and like the nerd geeked out one is the ability to turn into any animal. And and Joe, I'll tell you this, and I was telling my wife this too, and I think the light bulb went off where I basically bundled up every superpower into 1 just now. So I turn into a bird and can fly. Yeah. I turn into a whale and can swim. I could turn into a gorilla and can be super strong.
Man, you put a lot of thought into that.
Listen, it was one of those moments that you're like, everything makes sense now.
Yeah, right.
That's it. I'll tell you, the one I want no part of is the ability to read people's minds. Oh. I do not want to know what people think about, how they react. Like, no need for that whatsoever.
That's pretty good, because it was back and forth between, not wanting to be able to read people's minds and invisibility, right? Because that's kind of, you can get the same thing through that. But then I'm like, man, being invisible, it's kind of cool, like being able to walk around and nobody know you're there. But anyway, my two yeses, Joe flying was absolutely it. That was definitely one, and I think that's one probably a lot of people want to be able to do. So my second one did come down to, I thought, yeah, you know what, I think I do like the invisibility idea. I like that idea to be able to just kind of drop back. I like the pranks that maybe you could pull with the invisibility. Like I like that whole thing. And then I was back with mind reading, and then I was like, the ability to stretch, like the Stretch Armstrong kind of thing. Like I don't need to stretch all over the place. Like if I can fly and I'm invisible,
you're good.
I've kind of got those covered. So yeah, they were mine. That was pretty good. That was a good.
I like that one, man. Evan, usually it's food related.
Yeah,
majority of them are
a lot of food.
Related.
Yeah. Listen, you guys call me back for a food one. I'd be happy to take that
one also. All right, so let's jump in. So, Evan, you contacted me on Twitter. I don't know if it was you or just someone from Belouga, or you pretty much are Belouga. My wife and I, we own a dog training business, and I always say, like, we are the dog training company. There is nobody else. It's us, So I don't know if that was you who did the contact, but it was about the Same Here campaign for mental health awareness in May. Do you want to just kind of tell a little bit about, what the campaign is? And
yeah, let me give you guys a rundown. And I appreciate you bringing that up because it's something close to home on our side. So mental health has always been a foundation in Belouga. You talk about real world learning, and the foundation of learning is mental health. And we speak with a lot of great organizations worldwide. One of our key partners on mental health is an organization in New York called Same Here. And it's led by Eric Hewson, really good friend of mine, just amazing story behind him, big time sports executive, had some issues with his own mental health and was just honestly recommended the wrong treatment for years. And it finally got to the point where he started to speak with people and realized it wasn't burnout from work. It was everything that added up to that point. So throughout his life, he had some friends pass away. His brother was sick, and he just faced a lot of challenges that built up. And finally the dam broke. And the whole movement of Same Here is recognizing that mental health is a 5 out of 5 problem. It's not a 1 out of 5 problem. And all of us face our challenges. And it's not a competition where this person's on medicine, this person's hospitalized, and this person's just anxious, to walk into work. Everyone's on the same page, right? And their sign and their symbol, their logo, is actually the thumb pointed at the chest and the pinky pointed out like this. And it's the universal sign language for, Same Here, right? Like we understand what's going on between each other. So it's a really neat program. They have some content in Belouga already, but really just shooting a breeze with Eric, we realized that, there's gonna be a lot of trauma that comes from this, right? And everyone's in this uncomfortable spot right now. It's not natural for humans to be cooped up like this.
Right.
And we're going to get to the point where people are going to start going back to school. And we've heard about that already. Some schools we work with in China are back.
Right.
And it's a weird situation on what they're describing school to be. But let's say everything clears and things open up in North America. Right? And everyone goes back that first day with nice, pretty shoes and a backpack. And they look good. Their hair is cut. Those kids face completely different experiences. Right? And those backpacks are now loaded with issues. And it's not only for kids, it's for teachers, it's for parents, it's administrators. So how do we get ahead of this curve and understand that, some kids are coming from really nice homes. And I hope every kid is like that, where dinner's on the table, mom and dad are there. Some kids are coming from just mom's there. Maybe just dad's there. Maybe grandma's there. The other kids might not have dinner, right? Or forget about it. If there's casualty in the family, what are we going to do to get ahead of that? And we have to start talking about mental health way more than it's being documented, at least, and prioritized. So what we did with Same Here is say, let's bring together our communities and really focus. Mental Health Month is May. So it's a nice time for this as well. And really stress to our community, don't worry about standards, right? Like, don't worry about testing. And it's easy for me to say, as the CEO of a tech company where I don't have to report a grade to my principal or to my board. And I understand that there's a lot that goes into it, I personally, if it's not pass fail right now, I find it completely criminal to give a grade to a child. It's just a ridiculous thing. Even if it's an A+, I don't care. It's still a ridiculous thing right now. Let's focus on ourselves, right, as humans and people, and really start looking at our own mental health. So what we did in the last few weeks, and again, our community has just been amazing behind this, is we've brought together about 50 different organizations, thought leaders, experts, teachers and students even, that are hosting sessions in Belouga on a day-to-day basis. So it's everything from lesson plans to panels, to keynotes, to recordings, where they're able to share their own practice, their own experience, their message with our community, get them really understanding what mental health is. And I'll tell you guys, like, there's been a lot of great engagement. There's been a lot of great coverage. But if this thing dies on June 1st, we 100% failed.
Right.
Like,
it
this
can't be just a month.
That's exactly it. So we're looking at this as, how is this a launch pad for mental health that we're putting out there? And listen, I'll tell you guys, like, we were speaking with teachers in Morocco the other day, and they thanked us. And, why are you thanking us? We run a tech company. They thanked us because no one has ever brought up mental health to them before. North America, it's much different. And there's some other countries around the world that are doing great things, but these are the conversations. Like, if we're able to change one person's life with this, amazing.
Right. And North America, I mean, it's the tip of the iceberg.
That's exactly
the discussions that have gone on. I mean, it's only the past 5 years maybe that it's been an open discussion where people are actually saying, like, yo, I need help.
No doubt about it.
Or you hear celebrities or someone in power saying, yeah, I've dealt with this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's almost, I know for me, when I first started hearing about it, I said, I guess I didn't understand it. And not that I was ever gone through depression, but just to understand, it's feeling sad all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's something more than that. So I think within the last few years, especially in North America, I think things have started to change, but I think there is still a little bit of that stipulation, not stipulation, but almost like a stigma attached to it. Mm-hmm. Where it's not okay to go talk about your feelings. Especially maybe it was just, and maybe you're from New York, you want to, around our area, you want to be, guys are tough, right? And guys don't cry. But I guess that's the whole thing that we want to change. Or at least that thinking, that mentality to change.
And that's it. And I'll tell you guys, I was speaking with someone the other day about this too, is, a kid walks into school with a cast on his leg, he's going to get a pass and, hey, show up 5 minutes late, no problem, right? Here's an elevator to get you to class. It's the same thing with mental health, right? Like, mental health doesn't need to be sickness. And I think that's the biggest thing,
right?
Is what does just positive mental health look like? Like, listen, cooped up every day, I like to go for a run in the morning or at night when not so many people are out, because I would lose my mind otherwise. Right? It's simple as that. That's not sickness. It's just, how do I take care of myself mentally? So we have to start thinking like that, right? Like, what are the cues and solutions and outlets for people to understand you don't have to be sick to focus on mental health?
Yeah. And I mean, I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was just saying, like, every day or anytime I go out to the store, I said, I get back in the car and there's like a wave of kind of emotion that hits me because everybody's in a mask. You don't see anybody smile. You don't, like, there is no, this human connection that you used to just take for granted, that you would hold the door and somebody would smile and, something, and it's not there. And, I'll sit in the car for a few seconds, just kind of like collecting myself. And, you hear all the, well, you're not sick, your family's not sick, you should be able to just kind of move on and everything's fine, or things are going to be okay. But I think it is important to be able to say to people, look, if you're having those feelings, have the feelings.
100%.
No, my wife and I belong to a Zen monastery down here in South Jersey. And, the idea of things are impermanent, right? Those feelings are impermanent. They're not going to last forever. You're going to have happy feelings again, but being able to sit with them and not try and fight them, is so important.
That's it.
The acknowledgement, right? Yeah. The acknowledgement, like, hey,
I'm feeling this way, and it's okay.
To acknowledge both feelings, right? The good and the bad. Like, holy smokes, it is okay to feel warm inside and to still be a guy, right? Like, to want to be able to give a hug and, not, giving hugs isn't necessarily a female thing. So I guess it even might go back to like our sexist LGBTQ episode. Like, what's the perceived image of a man, or of a strong individual? The strong individual can have those feelings. So to acknowledge it and to know about it, I think is great to bring awareness to it, because I think the more they know, the better.
And that's it. And, listen, we've seen so many people at different entry points, and I think that's important too. Because schools are using the term SEL, which is good, right? Like, it's a step in the right direction. There's no doubt about it. But SEL doesn't cover rural, urban, poverty, affluent. Like, let's meet people where they are, because it's across the board. Like, mental health does not discriminate.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things too, and why we felt the need can't come from us. We're a tech company at the end of the day. It has to come from a broad voice. So we have organizations in Australia, in Croatia, in Ireland, obviously in the States and Canada, but from all different walks of life. And ideally, it meets that kid where they are and sitting home, whatever the environment is, and said, that's for me, right? Because it's not universal.
And the things that are on Belouga, can a student run through them on their own without a teacher being there to facilitate it? Mm-hmm. Can they find it on their own, or is it something the teacher has to share to Google Classroom or something like that?
Yeah, great question. So everything on Belouga has to be kicked off by an adult.
Okay.
And the main reason we do that, COPA, FERPA, GDPR, across the board. So an adult has to sign up first, and the adult can be a teacher, tech integration specialist, a principal, an after-school program. Over the last 3 months, I'll tell you guys, homeschool has definitely spiked on our side.
Sure.
But looking at it, what is the entry point? And the reason we do it is to ensure that it's an inclusive community, but also exclusive, right? We only want educators and students in this community.
Right.
So student information is never shared publicly. Their admin, in so many words, parent, teacher, guardian, whatever it might be, is able to see and monitor what that child is doing. Teachers are able to assign work to students in the platform, but students are able to explore freely. And what we've really done within the platform is we've personalized to the nth degree. And guys, I'll tell you, like, I even hate saying that publicly because I just hate buzzwords. And they're like personalization of education, but we really try to go with this. And it's not necessarily an easy thing. And we're not necessarily even there yet, to be honest. But it's looking at it and how do we understand, based on a child's age, their interests, their subject area that they're coming in from, how do we serve them up content and experiences and even community in a way that is appropriate to them? So teachers are able to really see the entire library, which at this point probably has about 30,000 hours of educational material.
Oh, wow.
Everything is connected and sourced from our community, and then connected to standards, curriculum, subject area. But the neat thing, and I know you guys are big into this too, which is probably a topic to go in after, are the SDGs.
Right.
So we're really looking at combining classroom with real world. But what a child is seeing is everything appropriate for them. So an 8-year-old is seeing max 9-year-old content. Mm-hmm. And same thing goes for high school students. We really want to serve up people where they are. So kids can definitely explore. I mean, the traditional setting in Belouga is classroom first, where you're able to start connecting and collaborating. But now over the last 3 months, that has completely changed, where it's fully taken on, as like you guys said, almost this another medium at home.
Right. And I think, that's kind of, I guess, a good segue into, you can filter out content by SDGs, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
In Belouga. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll touch on it for a second. I know you guys are big into this, and I'm thrilled to hear that too, because a lot of communities still don't know what the SDGs are. Right. And, how do we get this in front of them? Because it's so important. Will the goals, all 17, be accomplished by 2030? We don't know yet, right? But it's good that people are starting to acknowledge them and work on them and understand them, right? I don't think most people, myself included, all know all the targets, right? Like, that's the next wave here, 169 targets. It's a lot of information to consume. But how do we start understanding, like, hey, climate change or gender equality might be great for me? Right? And how do we start aligning to it? So every single piece of content in Belouga is directly aligned with at least one SDG. And the main reason we do it, one, we're working with organizations in the world. So we felt just limiting them to a standard or a subject area is short selling them, to be honest with you. Like, it's looking at it and saying, well, how do we connect to your core missions? And then the other aspect is we've seen kids. I mean, kids impress me more than ever now, to be honest with you guys too. Like they're just ready to blow everything off the top. Like it's amazing to see. It's exciting. But on their side, how do they get this wealth of knowledge and then put it somewhere, right? Like the test and testing, another conversation probably, like a whole podcast by itself. But the test isn't doing it in multiple segments, but they want to know that what they're learning is actually going to help them out in their life or their family or friends' life or community. And it's this amazing movement with people, planet, profit, and full social impact. Whether kids realize it or not, they're going to be the change makers.
Right.
So seeing this connection to the SDGs it's been amazing. It's not just, kids holding up the logos anymore, which was a great start, 5 years ago, but we need to get past that point.
Right.
Like, it's 2020 at this point.
Well, and I think the cool thing is you're seeing, kids out there who are their age and are making change, Greta and, all these different people that you're seeing, and they see themselves, right? It's not a 70-year-old man on Capitol Hill trying to get a change done. Exactly. It's the kids from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas making a racket and making people listen. And I think that's the cool thing that, the SDGs allow. Almost every kid can find something they're passionate about within the SDGs somewhere.
Most definitely. And,
right?
and like Evan, you were saying like it's that PLN is out there and you have to be able to dip your toe in the water and it's going to be overwhelming at first. And I know from personal experience, it was very overwhelming for me, but you don't, like you were saying before, it's not a competition, right? And you don't have to do everything. You just start to touch on things a little bit. And, as the teacher, you got to let it go and you got to let them do things. Because we have had little 8-year-old kids say, you know what, gender equality is important. And, why can't we play lacrosse like the boys play lacrosse? And then that thing, just sparks a whole nother interest. So to give them that opportunity to say, hey, what do you care about? Now go do it. And almost like we talk about the guide on the side, so that's awesome that there's all that content for them there, where they can go and explore and really, I guess, take it to the next level.
And that's it. And I think, it definitely shifts the teacher mentality, which I know is hard. Yeah. It's letting go of the reins a little bit, right? Like, and I think it's pressure on the teachers. We know it's pressure on teachers, right? They're getting banged over the head where you got to hit test scores and this and that. And like, when are they just a teacher anymore? So I think looking at it from that perspective, it's the teacher role, at least in my opinion, and it might ruffle some feathers here, but it's to guide, and inspire.
Right.
And if they're able to just get guiding and inspire to their kids, like the classroom, the kids become the teachers, right? And you completely flip this model and everyone's learning from each other.
And I think that, that for me, I guess I have, my mother would say, like, I have a strong work ethic. Like, if you're paying me, I'm going to do to the nth degree. So that was a little bit of a, wait, I need to step back and not be the one talking in front of the classroom the whole time. But I'm getting paid to do this. So you have to take that, mental kind of, whatever you want to call it, but that step back to go, no, this is the right way it should be done for today's world. We're not 1900s preparing people to work in a factory and looking for compliance. We're looking for people who are going to change things in the world. And they have to be in the driver's seat to do that.
For my math lesson tomorrow, I'm sorry, Ron, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, like, you're just like, Siri or, Waze, just giving them guidance and they're driving. That's what I want to be.
My math lesson tomorrow, I'm putting together, there's 7 different groups from just getting over the 6 different groups from just getting over the division assessment to starting fractions to halfway through the fractions lesson to some kids are on fractions greater than 1. And then I have 2 kids that are going to meet with so that's like 6 different math classes. So I'm like, it's talk about meeting kids at their needs, right? So why then change it when we go back to saying, all right, here's the math lesson for today. You might need it. You might not need it. You might have nothing, so it's just, it's giving them the opportunity to get what they need when they need it. And I think that's when you talk about like it's no longer 19th century, yeah, that's not the, what's it called? That's not factory line, right? I mean,
Right.
it's multiple lessons for multiple levels, because you have multiple kids at multiple levels, and you talk about personalizing it with multiple interests.
Right.
And it's not an easy thing, right? Like you have to lean on technology for it, right? Like, Joe, you're talking about this lesson. You're one person, right?
Right.
So like, and factor quarantine in life and everything else that people have to deal with. Right? These are just human problems. How do we make this happen? And greater now than ever before is access to technology and access to content. So the phone, and this is where it gets scary, is how does the phone look at and relate to a teacher, right? Like you're never going to lose the human touch. I'm such a believer in that. Even running a tech company, like the human touch is everything. And you need that personal aspect and the connections, which is why we feel so strongly about our community in Belouga with content. But at the same point, that Mrs. Jones is teaching a math class, and 45 minutes later, the kid walks out, flips on a phone, and has access to the world. Right. So if you lost that kid minute one, forget about it, right? And it's just a trickle down reaction where the kid's not engaged, the teacher is, jeopardized in a sense for it. Administration feels it, and it's a bottom up and top down approach completely.
Now, I know you said now classes can make connections worldwide, right? So how does that happen in Belouga?
Yeah, Ron, I'll tell you. So teachers are the initial connection point. So teachers can come into the platform. We do not dictate any of the experience. So there's no specific program. Some teachers are utilizing this every single day. Some teachers might utilize it 2 times a year, and both are perfectly fine with us.
Right.
So from our perspective, teachers are able to come in. Generally, what we've seen is they start connecting with their own community first, which in our platform, we've actually built out some really unique and interesting tools, everything from chat and video messaging. So you guys could imagine everything with video going on now. It's been a pretty wild ride over the last few months with our video, and we're really excited about it. We actually just launched our live sessions yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So it's brand new in a platform for us, where previously it was just happening within Belouga. Now we've kind of leaked it out a little bit further. We're actually able to start getting community, and it's only accessible to teachers, those features. But teachers are able to make connections directly within the platform. And similar to students, where it's personalized, teachers are the exact same way. So they could search for, here's Joe, and here's Ron, and here's Bob and Jane, or they could go to suggested connections. So it's almost our version of teacher dating in a sense.
Yeah, Facebook.
That's exactly it. Teacher Tinder, we'll call it, right?
Right.
Where they're able to just scroll through, see people that are same subject area, same age range. We have a lot of onboarding, meaning 2 minutes of a person's time during the onboarding process.
Right.
That starts fractioning out, what bucket does this teacher belong in? And then the more that they engage, the more personalized it gets. So they're able to connect their classrooms, everything from video in a platform and messaging to actual in collaboration or in content collaboration, which is basically our version of lesson plans. We call them episodes and series. Yep. So in Netflix to the fullest again. But on that side, it's really just units and lessons. That's what we just doctor it up with. But a teacher is able to come in and say, Evin sees John on the other side, and we've connected somehow, whether in Belouga, on Twitter, in our own district. And I know John's kids are the exact same age as me. Me and John are chatting within the platform. We come across this great mental health program and say, hey, instead of my 25 kids being assigned this piece of content, how do I connect with John's class too and bring 2 teachers and 50 students into one virtual learning environment? So at that point, there's multiple different prompts and actions, everything from uploading videos and images and being able to collaborate and connect and communicate and cross-reference. But we're really trying to focus on what does that virtual learning experience look like? And, taking it honestly like past the Google form style, where you get like 5 adults on a G-Doc and it's chaos. And I love G-Docs, right? Like we work on it every day. But how do you do it in a sense that's going to facilitate not only one touch? And I think that's one of the biggest things that we always try to focus on at Belouga is, what happens next, right? So like, guys, this is the first time, we're chatting and it's fantastic conversation. If the webinar ends or the podcast ends traditionally in the education sector and we see each other, hey, we're both from the metro area, like Yankee fan, Eagles fan, Giant fan, cool, right? Like good touch points, but we just had such a unique experience that has never existed before. How do we build on that? Right. And I think that's the toughest part in education. Why I love Twitter so much in education is you're building PLNs. And it's a really strong experience. But instead of just seeing what's happening on Twitter, how do we actually start coming together and working and collaborating? So that's what we're trying to facilitate between teachers and students in all different shapes and sizes.
And I love it because it's, like you're saying, it's kind of a safe way to do it. You know, you're not going to put an 8-year-old on a Twitter account and, you know, have him sharing out what he's doing with the world, or she's doing with the world. But here it's a safe way to do that. And, you know, Joe and I have both seen when you have a student and what they've created or what they've done get shared out by, you know, us as the teacher on Twitter, and they get that hit back that, oh my gosh, this guy in South Africa really liked the work that you did. It puts a whole new fire under somebody for the next time that they're doing something, or they want to do it better, you know? And I like that your platform's doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I think it's such an important.
This is a silly question. So Beluga, when I think Beluga, I think caviar. so am I just off?
No, you're not so off, Joe, there. But yeah, the Beluga logo and where the name came from and the brand behind this. So I either think caviar or like, you know, the 80s Baby Beluga song, basically. You know, like, I don't know if it was Raffi or Yanni, like, you know, one of those guys that knocked that thing out.
Yeah.
But looking at it from that perspective, Beluga really came about just from our knowledge of saying, listen, we're going to be dealing with a really wide age group here. And what are you going to make that's fun and cool for 6-year-olds, 18-year-olds, but then also 30 plus teachers, you know, like how do we make this broad thing? And the immediate solution is animals, right? Like everyone wants animals.
Yeah.
So that's like the universal, hey, if you need to name your company after something, look at animals first.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Google's taken, Amazon's taken, Netflix is taken. Start looking at animals, right?
Well, I'm thinking Beluga's fine caviar. I'm like, this must be a fine platform. Like, better than everything else.
Joe, listen, if you need another job, right? We got marketing and branding for that. But I'll tell you guys, like, you know, it came together. We started doing a little bit of research. We found out that beluga whales just so happen to be one of the most communicative animals. They travel in pods, which is kind of our little version of classrooms. Then you get a little bit deep into it, and you know, like the meta is the ocean they travel in. The ocean doesn't belong to anyone. They're able to go everywhere. And, you know, like most tech companies, we changed our name a little bit just so when everyone searches, a whale doesn't come up first.
Right.
And that's it. That's kind of the story behind Beluga. I wish I said this before on like an interview. I said there was some magical story. You know, like I was riding a beluga whale through like the St. Lawrence River. And, like,
there's those superpowers again, right?
That's
like,
it, right? Like, I actually turned into a beluga whale, right? Like, but yeah, that's kind of it.
That's a good story. That's cool.
Well, and it's things you need to think about. Like that's when we did Teacher Nerds.
Yep.
Ending it with a Z. We're the first thing that pops up over and over and over again when you search. You're not going to get anything else.
To do it.
Yeah. That's cool. It's a good
branding, right, Ron? I mean, that's Media Club, right? And design idea and design center. It's all branding and how you want people to know or what you want them to think. Because it's right. First, what do they say?
First impressions, right?
Yeah. First time you see something, you know, and
you got 5 seconds or so to make
it's so powerful.
Make a connection.
Yep.
So what about the professional development end for teachers? What kind of things do you have in there?
Yeah, Ron, I'll tell you, it's interesting you bring it up. We actually started getting approached by teachers over the last 12 months saying, hey guys, what about us? Right? Like, there's some great stuff for kids here, but we kind of want to learn globally also. Right. And you know, some districts are doing amazing PD and some are doing PD. Right. We'll call it that. So he said, how do we meet an educator where they're at? Right. And understand that all PD is not created equal. And traditionally, it's no one's fault, but the PD that comes into a school or a district is generally just what you hear and know of, right? So, hey, I know that guy. He's great. He spoke at ISTE, right? Or I saw this webinar and I would love to get this guy, it's good, right? It's a good start. But we said, same way we're doing it for teachers and students, let's just make this for teachers now as well. So directly within Beluga, we have professional development for educators that comes from all different sources, communities, really worldwide. And we're working with groups like universities. There's specific branches of ASCD that we're working with currently right now, which we're really, really excited about, especially at the state level from an accreditation perspective too. But we also bridge in, those great people that you might see at the big boy education conferences, or that are doing the panels, or honestly are just the classroom teacher, and not to dismiss it, but the classroom teacher that needs that mic, right? Like my personal belief is every single teacher has something absolutely amazing to give. It's just, how are you exposing that, right? Like the age old saying, like content is king, but distribution is the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right. So what are we looking at and how are we getting it out there? So we really started to focus on this, and we're just getting this ball rolling right now with our PD, but looking at it, and how do we feature a journey for educators the same way we do it for kids? So if someone's coming in and working on digital citizenship and they take a course and they say, I love that stuff, right? Like I need to learn more, not just sit in a 5-hour session, get a stamp of approval, pat on the back and call it a day because it hits my transcript. Like, let's actually start learning, how do I become the expert, right? And do it in a really, easy, effective, cost and mental, to be honest with you, way to deliver this PD. But they also might say, hey, I took this one course, I loved it, but I don't need it anymore, right? And let me look at the next stuff. And I think the biggest thing that we try to accomplish here is the journey of learning. And what happens as that next wave and the next one? If a teacher doesn't like it or got enough out of it, great. How do they then implement that with their kids and activate content that they're able to bring back? So the PD is a new route for us. We have some great partners that are featured right now. They're super excited across all different areas, but really looking at it almost as a stepping stone. And I'll kind of give you guys like, a peek behind the curtain. And what we're trying to accomplish here is that full pathway, right? So it's not only within the K-12 space. What about the university space? What about the corporate space, right? So how do we serve up this content within one vehicle that's integrating multiple touch points that people just might not have had access to before?
Man, that's a huge vision.
It's big, man. I'll tell you,
it's like teaching the world.
You know what it is, Joe? I'll tell you, it has to be done, right? And our team is ambitious, to say the least. I think more fearful or fearless than ambitious. Maybe, again, probably positive and negative on that side. But looking at it, someone's going to do it.
Right.
Like, it just has to be done. And our mentality has always been, why not us?
And I think that's why you have to be fearless, right? Like you have to be fearless with, let's try this. And if it fails, then we'll do this. Or, like you can't be afraid of it not working.
That's exactly it.
Because a lot of things aren't going to work. But the one thing that does work, like that's to me, that's gold.
And that's it. That's the attitude that we always try to instill in everyone on the team is, listen, this is a journey. Right? Like you have to appreciate the ride. Right. No matter the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, like most, it's a crazy roller coaster. Right? Like some days you're so fired up. Oh my God, I'm on top of the world. The other day you wake up, it can be beautiful out and feels like there's a rain cloud above you, right?
Right.
It is what it is. So we're looking at it. Listen, we failed a ton of times on our side. The biggest thing that we try to stress is fail, right? Like we want you to fail, which means you're going at it, but you have to be able to learn from that. Right. That's the biggest aspect of our team that we try to preach is do crazy stuff, right? Like the crazier, the better. I don't know if you guys are in the know, like on Elon Musk's story. Yeah. Like the dude is out there, like with his recent kid's name, like he's just wild, dude. But looking at it, this guy has failed more times. He's had more rocket ships blow up than anyone in the world, right? Like he got kicked out of board meetings when he was CEO of PayPal. Like just amazing things. And the guy just doesn't care. Like you eliminate the noise, and it's not necessarily saying like, don't take people's opinions and don't listen to people, but understand that, they're either one, maybe trying to bring you down because they haven't been able to do it themselves, or they just don't know, right? So trust your gut instinct. I'm a huge Gary Vee fan. I don't know if you guys like him. As Northeasterners, of course, right? That attitude. But it's true, right? Like we get so drowned out by what everyone else around us is saying that we forget why we're doing it in the first place.
Well, and I think that's why it's important to do this stuff with kids, because they have to be able to realize, to differentiate between criticism and just people hating.
For sure.
Right? Like, what's constructive criticism and what's, like you said, someone trying to just beat you down because either they're jealous or they don't want you to be successful. So that's a real part of that's life.
Yeah, and then being willing to, in school was never a spot to be able to take a risk.
To fail.
Like
So you couldn't fail in school.
I mean, but now giving them, and that, I always start, like I said, I teach technology in 3rd grade to 8th grade. So, I start to talk to the kids about, when you're brainstorming, give me your wildest, your craziest. I said, because there was somebody who said, yo, I want to open a transportation company, but I don't want to own any cars.
Yep.
Right. And that's how we got Uber.
100%.
And there were people who went, what are you talking about?
Yep.
Like, have those crazy visions.
And that's it. And I'll tell you guys, as an entrepreneur, and I've been in this field for a while, right? Not necessarily Belouga. Belouga popped open 3 years ago, but before that I was running an agency in New York for about a decade. And the biggest thing is you have to embrace that failure, but also understand that it's we have to teach our students that these life lessons, if we're able to pass those on, and Ron, I love that mentality, is Uber, right? What are these other crazy companies that just came about that's listen, we're going to put scooters in a city and people are going to stop driving cars and just ride scooters all day. There's some crazy stuff where I'm going to rent my apartment out to complete strangers.
Yeah. Right. Right. I want to start a rental company, but I don't want to own any property.
Yeah. But this is what fuels innovation.
Well, that's what this whole pandemic, I think, is going to be a spark to fuel even more.
Well, and this started, I can think back to Disney, right? The Walt Disney, who wanted paradise, but didn't want anyone to see what's going on. Yeah. So you go to, you go there now and it's seamless and you don't see anything. Mm-hmm. So just to have that whole city run, because I think it's pretty much a city, right? And you don't see them sanitation, you don't, and it's all underground. So I just think, it's not something that has just started, but maybe now it's almost like the books are out there on, on how to do it. And it's more now of, I guess, some of the curriculum in schools to try and help prepare the kids for that type of thinking and failing, because you never wanted to fail. Well, I mean, and I can't say you never failed in school because people fail classes and there's summer school, but there wasn't the idea of it. Okay, it's okay to fail. It was never a good thing to fail in those classes.
Right? You never even were given an option to take a risk, right? On a test, it was right or wrong answers. Right. Yeah. There wasn't even an option of taking a risk, but, now we're seeing teachers and, giving students, look, it's not about your final product necessarily. It's about the journey along to get to the final product.
Exactly it.
That's what I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. So now Belouga, it has paid and free versions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is it can districts get licenses or is it individual teachers or both?
So we have a complete free aspect of our platform, and we deal with a lot of communities that are emerging markets in all parts of the world. So that aspect will always be free. Unlimited students, they could access content, they could collaborate, they could connect, all the good stuff. What that premium basically does is unlock a lot more content behind the scenes. It aligns standards. It unlocks our technology where teachers are actually creating content too. Okay. So it's not just coming from our partners. Teachers have actually built in Belouga and looking at it from a perspective of, well, I'm going to build this for my classroom instead of my PowerPoint or GDoc or Word document, and give them this online learning experience. And we have educators on our team that are actually working with teachers constantly to produce this content. And I think that's the biggest learning ability on our side is no one really knows the storytelling or the content compared to lesson planning. So that's a new behavior that we're trying to really introduce into education. There's some great educators that are doing amazing things on storytelling and content, but how do we make this just as second nature as lesson planning? So they've been able to kind of create in Belouga and then utilize that piece of content to connect with another classroom on their own units, lesson plans, curriculum moving forward. So we've seen that really interesting kind of blend of curriculum between teachers and organizations of all shapes and sizes. I mean, in Belouga, you might have a teacher in California that's teaching second grade art next to a piece of content from the United Nations. So, I mean, it is not discriminating at all. It's meeting you where you are. So back to the model, we offer a subscription on the individual side, which can be a teacher or a parent. And then we really look at, the higher education part of this, and not higher ed university, but superintendents, administrators, district leaders, where we're able to sell in district licenses.
And do you have free trials for, going just to get your feet wet or take a look around?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, anyone could sign up for free and probably get a good feel of what the platform is at beluga.org. And then also working with districts, we definitely do offer those capabilities. Our biggest thing, again, is just making education accessible.
Right.
So looking at it, we are a for-profit company. Like we have to keep the lights on. And I know that's always one of those things. And I'll tell you guys, like, I personally hate the term edtech. I think it's just one of those terms that get thrown out there a lot. And there's some amazing companies. There's some not amazing companies, but everyone's bundled in this one title, and it's not doing a service to the real products out there that are doing some amazing work. But in doing so, yeah, people can access. Our job is to meet people where they are and make education, again, where we started from, accessible, impactful, and equitable. And we've had teachers since the beginning that are, using Belouga for free and have absolutely excelled in it. I personally recommend everyone use it for free because it doesn't do us a justice, even on our side, to go sell a district or an individual if they're not going to utilize it. Right? There's so much time that goes into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And content, like you were saying, if you get a paid version, teachers can create content. Is that content then stored in a library where anybody can get to it, or a teacher can make it public or keep it private?
Exactly. So public and private. And we also have district private libraries that we're able to create if it's just for a school or region. What I will tell you guys is probably 98% of the teachers that are creating in Belouga are publishing publicly. Right. So that's really why they're coming here, is one, I think, for their own classroom, but then also that acknowledgement. Right. Like I'll tell you guys, I'm amazed by educators that say, yeah, I would love to share content in Belouga.
Yeah.
Right? I would love to educate other kids or get my name out there or just give back.
We always throw stuff out there. We're like, yo, check this out. You should try and use this with your kids. And then we always say, do you have any suggestions? That we look for that constructive criticism because, you want to, I personally, and I know Ron does too, we want to get better each year and each day with our craft. And we always say, like, we're better together. Like, you might see something that I don't see. That's awesome. I can't wait to dive deeper. I'm taking notes and everything.
Well, you guys know where to find me.
Yeah.
Well, I think you touched on it when you said, like we have that, that Northeast connection. So we come, we talk on the podcast, and then we end. And then we might see each other and be like, what's up? But what's the next step? And that's it. I mean, that's what we want in the classroom. And I guess I never realized it before. Like, even, when we've had other guests, like Kyle Nemus a couple weeks ago, and he's like, yo, you should check this out. We talked about different ed techie tools. And then it's like, yo, you know what? I did check this out and this was awesome. And so to have that keep the banter going.
It's all about having a toolbox.
I say I love my PLN and I think to talk about PD, one of the reasons I think I am able to get better is because of the PLN that, we created and are a part of. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the feeling is on everything we are putting out, but I know what the feeling is on everything I'm taking in. And, I'm loving it and trying to share and not just be a user, but, a content creator as well. It's the double-edged sword, like I want to give and I want to take. Yeah. And I'm taking a lot because it's all, now we have the time. So it's looking and researching and saying, ooh, this works, or let me see how this works and tweaking it. And I think that's what's fun about teaching. That's what's fun about our field is you could see something Tuesday night and come in Wednesday morning and say, all right, guys, let's try this and see what happens.
Yeah. Anything, Evan, anything else you wanted to add or throw out there for us?
No, I think, listen, we covered a lot in this one. I appreciate you guys, appreciate the audience as well. And, just the industry in general. I mean, people can find us at beluga.org.
Yep.
Our mental health program is currently up and running. Everything is free to our entire audience. So we encourage everyone to come check it out for their own mental health.
And is that going to stay up, that content, that mental health content?
So that mental health content will stay up directly within Belouga, and we'll build on it. And really, guys, where we're going with this too is how we build in communities within the platform, and not just that individual teacher, but we've identified mental health as a vertical, and we've always had that vertical. But again, what happens next year? right? And how do we put our money where our mouth is and continue pushing that type of content and multiple seasons, multiple episodes, multiple learning engagements for both teachers and students to continue on their own journeys. So yeah, definitely check that one out. It's something that, just means a lot to us as an education company, featuring our great partners and just seeing the feedback. That's been really nice to hear. And then I think, throughout the summer, we'll definitely have some other programs, probably around PD. But everything on our side, it's scary to say even May 12th is, we're getting ready for back to school season already. And
I can imagine. Yeah.
What is that?
And you don't know what it's going to be. Yeah,
exactly. Right. So you nailed it. So it's navigation mode that we're in right now. And I think everyone's in that same boat. It doesn't matter how old, what field you're in, everyone's trying to play it by day. And there's new news that comes up every day. So we'll see.
And what about social media? Where can people find?
Yeah. So our biggest channel is definitely on Twitter.
Okay.
It's Belouga _ Whoever owns at Belouga, please give it to us. It's just one of those docked accounts, one follower. Like, come on, man. We couldn't get that one necessarily. And then on Facebook, we keep up with it. But Twitter is definitely our go-to channel.
Do you guys do an Instagram?
We're not so much active on Instagram. Okay. It's Belouga _ on Instagram.
Same thing. Okay.
Yeah. We're a small team. I wish we could do all of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But Twitter, I've seen a lot on Twitter.
Twitter is definitely our go-to.
I as I go through my feed, I changed my picture to the same here, and you see a lot of them. It's pretty cool to see them popping up, all over. So
yeah, we've seen some amazing engagement and just acceptance of the program, and globally from this education community. And again, leaving on that note, it's same here, right? Everyone's feeling this, and how do we stay connected and see each other? So it's great stuff across the board.
Yeah. Hey, Evin, we appreciate you coming on and